Hello everyone, welcome back again. Today, instead of just doing a regular review, I want to go ahead and do another comparison. These are two lights that have been talked about individually quite a bit, and I was looking around and didn't see a whole lot of comparisons. But when I looked them up and look at the information online for each individual light, it's pretty frequent to ask how does one compare to the other. So I thought I'd go ahead and make a video and take care of that. So we have the Olight S30R Baton 3 and the Olight S2R Baton, and this is a battery, 18650 battery, just for size comparison there, so you can tell approximately how big they are. This one is actually a 3200 milliamp that came with the S2R Baton. So you can see they are similar in appearance, but not the same. And make sure I put that in the right way. And they actually function pretty similarly, and they have a lot in common other than that. So you can see the heads are different. The clips are the same, actually the same size clip even. This one's a little bit wider here aside from longer. So this one is 4.1 inches, I believe it is, and then this one is, the S30 is like 4.4. So pretty significant size difference there. Width, this is a little bit wider, but it's not huge. I mean, didn't really bother me. Both have magnetic rechargeable tail caps. The batteries are customized for the lights, so I don't know if other 18650s will recharge in it though. Price wise, they're pretty close. The S2R I was seeing for $73 was the cheapest I saw it for. That was on Amazon, and the S30 Baton 3 was $80 on Amazon. I looked both of those up today, so that's the cheapest I was seeing them each for. As far as performance wise, their outputs are pretty similar. The biggest difference there is going to be the beam profile. So the S2R has a wide beam hotspot. It's not a flood, it just has a wide hotspot with not as much noticeable spill, like very little spill really. And then the S30 has more of a, what most people are probably used to, it has a fairly intense hotspot in the center and then a fair amount of spill around that. So this one does reach out a little bit farther. The S30 will reach further, but the S2R is a little bit easier to use for close-up work. So I kind of like that, and they mention that on both of them. And so the tail caps, it's not just magnetic recharging, they're actually magnetic tail caps too. Both had lanyard holes on them. And as far as how they function, they actually, the switches work the same. Hold it down, you get your moonlight mode, and then hold it down from there, and they both just go up to their highest modes. If you want turbo, double click, and strobe warning. If you want strobe, triple click. And you can see the strobe patterns are a little bit different there. Pretty close actually, might be a slight difference in frequency, but okay, that's enough of the strobe. My camera's going bonkers. And then to lock out, you hold both of them down for moonlight and then keep holding it down, and it goes into moonlight. And then when you try and use it, they flash. Okay, so they're both on again there. Both are IPX8 waterproof, and both are honestly pretty good everyday carry lights there. I did find the S2R, because it's a little bit shorter and just a tiny bit narrower. For myself, it was easier to carry, and I got one of the Olight little sheaths that they sell on the side, and that's the S2R there. So there's a lot of extra room in there, but it does sit fine if you want to carry like that. And the S30, that's a little bit longer, so it'll do a little bit better in this. So both of them fit in there. In addition to that, the S30 does come with their desktop charger. So the light goes on here, and then it's got an additional USB port, so you can charge something else. It does have little suction cuppy bottoms there, so it gives it, if you stick it, it'll do pretty good. I didn't have a problem with it sliding, and if you haven't seen it before, you just stick it on the top there and it'll start charging. So that's you know, for some people that'll be a bonus for the S30R, but Olight does sell these additionally, so if you want one and you decide you want to go with the S2R, you can still buy it, but the same dock works for this. That's the S2R, and I've got my H2R Nova here, and it also works for that. So this one dock will work if you already have some Olights that have that rechargeable bottom. That one will work for several of them, and it's kind of nice, but it's not really needed. Honestly, I'm not as worried about having a light that I can recharge the battery in as I used to be. That's not the light. That's something I was playing with, see if I could externally modify it without doing anything else. So that is kind of nice, but I'm not as worried about the rechargeable light thing as I used to be, because Olight sells a separate battery charger that is two of their little round magnetic bottom things that just stick onto the tail cap there. It's like a USB plug with two of those, and that charges pretty much any type of battery. So it's just a little, it's a flat cable. It's not quite a ribbon, but it's a flat cable, and it's, I don't know, 2 feet long, and it only charges one battery at a time, but it charges pretty much any battery. So if you're having a hard time choosing between the two of these, and the size difference doesn't bother you for the S30R, because again, it's 0.3 inches longer, and it's only a little bit wider. Olight also sells this. This is their diffuser cap, and it does have a little lanyard hole there, so you could tie a piece of whatever string through here. This one, yeah, I guess if you had a small needle, you could thread it through the little indent there, but I would probably just put it through there, and then this just goes on there. So what this does, it's a diffuser tip. It doesn't make it quite a flood, but it really spreads that hot spot out a lot. And I'll show you that. We'll do some beam shots with both of these, because that's the big comparison there. But it does a good job, and it's not the same thing as the S2R, as you'll see, but it really does add a degree of versatility to the S30. I like them both, but for me, for what I do, I'm probably going to keep the S2R for myself, and then I'll end up selling the S30 to somebody. So somebody will soon be getting a good deal on a very lightly used flashlight. And all right, so let's take a look at some beam shots. Okay, so let's take a look at the beams here. Here we have the S2R. You can see that's a very broad hot spot. It's, I guess, 15, 20 feet away there. So this isn't going to be reaching out thousands of yards or anything, but it's just a good general usage light. And it's, I really like this. And then now we'll take a look at the S30 here. And there we go. So you can see a much smaller hot spot, and you can really see that spill there. So it's got some useful spill to it. And then when you go up, like that hot spot gets pretty intense pretty quickly there. And then there we go. So, and what I was talking about, we'll get to that in just a second here. So that's the S30, and that's the S2, medium, high, low, high. So you can see the intensity because it's more focused in that hot spot in the S30, but the beam, like the hot spot difference, is pretty huge. And again, that's just 15, 20 feet away. So you can imagine at 100 feet, there's going to be a pretty significant difference. So there's the S30, and we'll put the diffuser tip on it now. And you can see there's still a definite hot spot, but it really spreads the light out a little bit more. It makes it so it's not really a flood, but it really does spread the light out. And then there's the S2R again. So is that on high, medium, high? Yeah. So it really does a good job. So you still have that hot spot, but then there's the S2R. So if you kind of want, if you can't really make up your mind which one you want, like this might be a good option for you with the S30 and the diffuser tip there. So there's no diffuser tip. You got all that spill, and then really mostly it's just diffusing that hot spot to a much wider area. So still a very usable light, but it adds a good degree of versatility to it. All right, so there we go. There's a decent comparison there between the S2R Baton and the S30R Baton 3, both from Olight. And here's what that looks like with the diffuser tip on. That's without, and then so it does add a little bit of bulk to it, a little bit of length and a little bit of width. But if that's you know, the versatility, it might be worth it for you. So this might remind some people of the old mini mags with their different, with the anti-roll thing that they put on there for the end, and then you could put your lenses in there if you didn't want to change out your glass. So you'd have a red, amber, and then later they added blue and green also. But unlike that, this actually stays on well enough. It's not really going to fall off. I've used this a bit and it's still that good. So, all right guys, if you found this helpful, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you have any questions, as always, just leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you. And if you have any ideas of something realistic that I might be able to do a review of for you, please let me know. Thanks guys. Bye.